The United States is more divided than ever, as shown in a 2016 Gallup poll that revealed that 77% of Americans perceive the country as being this way. Polarizing figures such as Donald Trump aren't helping this at all. If anything, they're just driving it further. One of the main axioms in Trump's and his followers' ideology is that of American exceptionalism, or a kind of blind patriotism. Blind patriotism embodies American exceptionalism in that the people that follow the ideology have an unfaltering allegiance to their country. It's essentially unmistakably good, and it's the best that there could ever really be. There's nothing wrong with it. Meanwhile, constructive patriotism is sort of just what it sounds like. It's sort of like a constructive criticism, but for patriotism. Constructive patriotism points out flaws in the country and questions whether or not governance is to blame for these issues. And it is here where much of the United States division lies. Donald Trump and his followers of the Make America Great Again movement do not see constructive patriots as real patriots. The goodness, if you will, that the United States has is unquestionably good, like I mentioned just a few seconds ago. This might sound confusing, as one could vividly remember Trump and his constituents being pretty critical of the situation in the country. Things like immigration and foreign policy may ring a bell, but they weren't necessarily critiques of America itself. They were critiques of politicians. They blamed politicians for these reasons, for these sort of shortcomings. What's most important is that the fundamental values of America were never questioned. On the other hand, constructive patriots might call out fundamental values, or at least sort of what turned out to be fundamental values as the country's history ran along. And so that's where this sort of distinction in these groups lie, and that's why they don't really get along. In the constructive patriots' view, the country might not any longer need the fundamental values it has, or they could at least alter them to make the country a better place. In turn, when they question things going on in the country, blind patriots tend to attack constructive patriots, calling them out for not loving America, which we'll get into in just a bit.
That was a lie. They knew it was a lie when they said it, but they said it anyway in order to undermine a country that they hate. Yes, hate. America deserves to be in flames. That is their view.
The distinction in views here is that for blind patriots, they can't be critical of their country at all. If anything, they should be reinforced. Look what's going on today.
Believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them.
That have framed an enduring divide in modern America, one many thought was settled nearly 50 years ago when the Supreme Court affirmed a constitutional right to an abortion. Today, the court answered that question again.
It then becomes a problem for blind patriots to reconcile with constructive patriots, as they view them as having no sort of goodwill towards America itself. Constructive patriots are consistently calling things out in the country, and blind patriots view that as a hate for America. You see where this is going. It's got to get reinforced because our country's in shambles. Blind patriots might ask, how could someone attack the country? You know, how could they do this to our sorry about that voice crack. How could they do this to such a good place? You know, everything's all good. Meanwhile, constructive patriots are just providing constructive criticism. That's really all it is. Saying, could we do better here? Is there something going on there? Etc. And so what you see in the news is that blind patriots are put on defense. They're automatically sort of on the back foot. They feel they have to defend America. And that's where all the bickering comes from. Oh boy. And then what follows from that are the extreme displays of patriotism. You know, the big trucks with the do not tread on me flags, and the maybe even Confederate flags, and the honk if you like Trump, or let's go Brandon. You know, you can name it all down the line. And that's where all this sort of stems from, at least in my opinion. And honestly, when viewing it from the different lenses of patriotism, it sort of makes sense why blind patriots would do this. You know, we've been discussing how blind patriots are put on defense, and so to me it makes perfectly good sense. You know, sure, it might be a little cringe, but I see where they're coming from in the sense that they feel attacked. But what we should try to do is make them understand that they're not being attacked. That would be swell. Take something not too controversial, for example, taxes. It's no secret that big corporations and rich individuals get away year after year with either tax evasion or not paying nearly as much. And so when a left-leaning politician proposes a new tax system, it gets shot down by the right, who are often the blind patriots because they view it as non-American. And when a right-leaning person proposes a new tax system, it's usually not good. But anyways, when they propose a new tax system, the left, the constructive patriots, shoot it down because they're saying, oh, you're just trying to reinforce issues that we already have. At least on the surface level. I know taxes are very complex, but it obviously goes much deeper than just taxes. This happens down the line with America's political issues, no matter how big or how small. And so you see it, nearly every issue today is divided amongst party lines. I mean, I've said this in other videos, but you can see like pro-gun or anti-gun or pro-life, pro-choice, it's just all divided. 50-50, divided. Yin and yang, except not in unison. Ironically, feelings on patriotism itself are divided amongst the patriots. Registered Democrats are more likely to agree that someone can still be considered a patriot if they break a law one feels is immoral, refusing to serve in a war, and criticizing leaders, according to a 2019 YouGov poll. So not only is it the ability to criticize for constructive patriots, but going against the country itself when need be. And so the question needs to be asked, were American revolutionaries not constructive patriots? Or were they just not patriots in general? I mean, after all, were they not going against their country? America's founding fathers were so critical of their own country, they felt the need to go to war against the strongest military in the world at the time. They felt the need to change the entire government system. No more monarchy, let's bring in democracy. They wanted to go a long, long way. And this would have never happened had they been blind patriots and sort of just been C-U-C-K-E-D by King George over across the pond. And crucially, the United States would not exist today. Shifting to today, Donald Trump calls his followers patriots, in stark contrast to the beratement they give to the left. They could never be patriots. In a recent post on Truth Social, Trump said that he would be arrested on Tuesday, which is actually today, the day of recording. He urged his followers to take back the country had he been arrested. His patriots needed to take back the country and to revolt in the name of Trump, but more broadly, blind patriotism. And this is nothing new with blind patriotism. I mean, just take a look at the January 6th insurrection, a near coup on Washington, D.C. that would have sent our country into chaos. And so it becomes quite obvious that blind patriotism does not work, and it leads to an unhealthy situation in America. And so we really should not beat around the bush anymore and call blind patriotism what it truly is: fascism. To quote R.N. Vyas, blind patriotism is the nationalism which does not allow the irrational nature of the human mind to assert itself. Don't get me wrong, if blind patriots were on the left side of the political aisle, it would be just as big of an issue. It just so happens that the blind patriots, not isms, even though they are, it just so happens that the blind patriots are on the right and that they're followers of Donald Trump. And there's no problem with loving America. In fact, it's been one of the better places to live in humanity's history. Conservatives often call out liberals for being ungrateful to live in America, that they have no love for America. And while it might be true that liberals come across this way on the surface level, it might be better just to chalk it up to constructive patriotism. Put some love